further questions?
There's one here as well. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, just a much more basic question. It's not so highbrow at all. It's just the do you, when you approach a blank canvas, do you have any sort of plan in mind, or does the layers kind of respond to what's coming forward? Do you sort of just feel your way as you go along?
It's a good question. Well, firstly, they're not canvas; they're actually on board. That's a moot point. I think when I make them, I mean, of course, with digital technology, I can kind of do everything in Photoshop and just scale it all up. But I deliberately choose not to, because I want to kind of put myself in this rather bizarre, old-fashioned position of making kind of this painting. So it's a perversity of mine. And so I just make them up as I go along. I mean, I kind of have a feeling about starting with maybe a green background, because I want a particular kind of tone or colour. And I have maybe a set of symbols or images that I kind of want to use on the painting. But of course, the great beauty about making it as you go along is you make lots of mistakes, constantly covering over things, things become very fragmented and fractured. And the feel of the painting changes as I'm going through. For example, that painting behind you is probably 2 or 3 years old in the making. It was put to the wall for 6 months at one point because it just became so overloaded. And is in fact probably the most abstract in traditional terms of any paintings I can show, because I just kept obliterating the painting. And this is something that's happening more and more. So the answer to your question is, I just kind of go, to use Keith's very eloquent phrase in the public way, I usually go commando.
What you mean, stop thinking?
I know what
Or you Another what's been going on in some of these more recent paintings here is they've got these big elements here, pink, there, white, and in the other room sort of red, of blankness. It's almost as if these big monochrome paintings are moving over, threatening to obliterate the whole bloody lot, and sometimes you can see elements underneath it, sometimes you can't. Why have you introduced that?
I think the paintings were becoming so overloaded in terms of this kind of like nowhere, in relation to what you were saying, this kind of, it felt they were kind of just kind of drifting around with no kind of point for it. So they were just like, it was very difficult finding a way to stop the paintings, finish the paintings. I mean, of course they can finish anywhere I choose, but these big, large, graphic, almost constructivist areas, well, I think of them Ellsworth Kelly interventions. By introducing them, you really force yourself to rethink the painting because you're putting such a large area of blank colour on it. It's frightening. The painting almost goes back to nothing, and that's the reason why I've done it. So that it really forces me into thinking about this very question of how I'm going to stop. And also, I'm very interested in the idea of keeping on going and wondering what will happen if I just tip it too far over the edge. And I think these large areas of colour allow me other solutions to do that.
So the sort of threatening to become Ellsworth Kelly, which is the sort of, that's the end of the world, is it?
No. It's just, I mean, there's obvious reference points in the painting. I always make nods, not deliberately so, it just happens to come in because it's part of my kind of visual thinking. That, for example, there's in one of the paintings in the other room, there is actually a fragmented sign which is taken directly from a Liechtenstein brush mark, the Royal Liechtenstein brush mark. So, when I think of these as Ellsworth Kelly, of course they're nothing like Ellsworth Kelly, but in my imagination they are.
So, if you were a poet, it would be called illusions.
They allude to Ellsworth Kelly, but I'm not using it there as a reference to Ellsworth Kelly. It just happens to be part of my visual armoury. It could be anything.
Is there anything wrong with using it as a reference to Ellsworth Kelly?
Not really, no. I mean, I have no problem with people knowing, for example, that there's half a Liechtenstein brush mark in it, and even though it is pretty fragmented, they struggle to recognise it. Does that answer the question? There was another question over here as well.
Yeah, it was me. Well, the conversation's kind of moved on a little bit, but I just want to go back to the the point that Glenn made about liberal democratic painting. It seems to me that the current state that we're in at the moment is that we do have so much knowledge now. It seems to be an oscillation between one thing and another, rather than kind of a limp state in between. It's like the artist it's perfectly allowable now to hold two quite conflicting points of view, and use that as the friction for the making work. That's not really a question. That's just me kind of trying to stick my oar in about the way I kind of see it.
No, I think it is a thing which sort of like artists often try and do. They try and have two conflicting points and try and have something meeting in the middle. But then two conflicting points means that the oscillation between something usually involves some kind of debate, which you can say you want the best of both worlds, but then again having two opposing things means argument. An argument means something in motion, it means discussion, and it means sort of not knowing something, not knowing the answer. So I think in many ways that is a state which we all try and keep.
I think, yeah, I know what you're saying, but I think for me, you know, when I know quite clearly when I bring kind of parts of my knowledge bank of abstraction together, for example, certain aspects of abstraction with certain elements of pop, such as the signs, I know historically that's a no-no. And I think, you know, so I deliberately put them together. Partly, I wouldn't call them a clash, but I do it because once upon a time it wasn't allowed. You know, they were very distinct genres, and you were either in the abstract camp, and then you went to the, you picked a fight with someone who was in the pop camp. And these kind of linear dialogues occur in art schools and in the art world. So I think the clash is, I think the term clash is, I think for me, you know, putting different elements together allows for that oscillation between different genres. Are there more questions? Because I was going to say that it has been an hour now that we've been talking, and it's very hot in here. And there are some drinks available. Is there anything else? David.
I just want to pick up on this last point. How much do you feel that Clement Greenberg would respond?
Be horrified. I hope. If Clement Greenberg were alive and he came with the likeness paintings, I would be very upset.
Just, it's really a comment like around the whole postmodernism and modernism debate, which I never actually got, because for me, early modernism, which I think a lot of artists reference stylistically, those kind of tensions existed. And with your work, particularly, I think of fine green and synthetic cubism, which for me kind of contained those kind of tensions and opposition in fluid ways, and also cubism in general, the fractured perspective, which you mentioned. So it's really.
Well, I guess that people need is to find a tone, you know, to find a newism. So after modernism, you've got to have postmodernism. So maybe there was no difference.
It seems like postmodernism for me reacted against Greenbergian formalism.
Sure.
So,
but it asks questions. It asks questions of the language. It asks questions of the kind of limitations through his sense of formalism as the carrier of the meaning and the message. And I think that today that may well be a part of the work, but it doesn't just stop with that. It was very rule-bound. So there were certain things from the outside world which weren't allowed in. Whereas today I think we're much more relaxed. It's very suggestive. And we allow the world into the studio. So yes, so go back to what David said, I mean...
I kind of think that existed before Greenberg.
Possibly, I wasn't around, I wasn't alive.
Well, I think you can see traces of that. If you look at the work, if you look at early modernist paintings, if you look at early Picasso and sort of cubism, you can see this fight going on. You can see them trying to create a structure in which you can try and create modernism as a cubist form to try and look at the world through, and it doesn't always work, and it's the bits that don't work that we actually like looking at now. rather than the bits that actually did well. It's an interesting story. Okay.
Can we finish there? Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much.